It's a damn shame that Prince is even stricter with his music when dead.
I was just listening to Kiss, and I said to Pierre, "Can I go live with Kiss playing in the background, and we could just dance around to Kiss?" And he was like, "No, he's really strict." And I'm like, "But he's dead."
He's even worse, dude.
I really thought death would chill a person out. Apparently not.
Yeah, no. It's as much as I love Prince, he is one that was not advocating the whole streaming revolution.
He didn't like his music being given away.
Yeah, like ever since it first came out too, like he would get his team of crazy Illuminati lawyers and just smack down on anybody who played like 10 seconds of anything on anywhere.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy how the music industry has changed. I mean, actually all entertainment. It just completely decentralized and flipped the entire, what do you say? Like the actual the corp the big industry giants,
Yeah,
they have just lost complete power,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. The hierarchy that once was is no more.
Which is a good and bad thing, I guess. I mean, we've
Yeah, I
talked
mean
about this many times.
you need gatekeepers, right? So structure is a good thing, but sometimes it can be stifling because it leans towards tyranny. But then on the flip side of it, if you just have pure chaos, I wonder how many good artists are getting lost right now. Like people are actually producing really good stuff, but they just can't get heard. You just can't get seen. And now
Yeah.
the big companies are like, well, we only really want stuff that gets put through the machine that tells us before we release it how much money we're going to make, which they
Yes.
literally have.
Yes. I watched this thing on superhero movies
Mm.
and why there are so many. Obviously, one, it's a huge cash grab, but there was an interesting point which ruins art, but it was basically saying if they're going to spend how much, what's the budget for these superhero movies? Like $20 million to make one of these movies?
I looked actually today for a good reason at the budgets, and yeah, no, more than 20 million. You're talking 200, 300 million for a potential revenue of 1.2 billion and up. Endgame was 2.2 billion
Well, there's your
against
answer.
three or 400 million. Yeah,
Yeah, well, there's your answer there. And I mean, what my point was, I mean, other than the numbers speaking for themselves,
yeah.
but like if they're gonna get people to invest in making a triple A movie with the CGI and stuff, they have to make sure that they'll actually get a return on it, other than risking $1 million budget on a shitty, what do you call, avant-garde film that zooms in someone's peepee hole for 30 seconds too long and just hopefully makes an artistic statement, you know?
The only reason I know that, and this ties in with why I messaged you today to tell me the name of the woke game,
Oh,
is because I read an article that says the new supervillain for the Avengers, you're gonna fucking love this, is Thanos' brother, and he's called Eros. And his supervillainous power is he makes people fall in love, he makes people feel pleasure they don't want, and he makes them have empathy for each other.
he's a villain?
Mm. And he's played by Harry Styles.
Wait, but why is that villainesque? Isn't that supposed to be a hero thing to make people feel empathy?
Everything is an inversion now. Good is bad, bad is good. We're just going to
No,
confuse the fuck out of people till they go crazy and submit.
yeah, because the woke game, this Life is Strange game, it's making the empathy person a hero, but then
Yeah.
this one, it's a bad thing.
I don't. Maybe they'll play it that like he can induce chaos in society because if people feel what somebody close to them is feeling, then they're like, oh my god, they're microaggressing me.
Man, they gotta make up their fucking mind, man. Like, how is whatever Harry Styles, huh?
But I created an Instagram post and I was going to tag you in it. That was the news report, and then a picture of Harry Styles in a dress, and then a picture of Harry Styles in pink pants. And right before I posted it, something happened, and I had to drive to Liverpool and buy. And I couldn't do it. But I wanted to annoy you was my specific intention with the post by pulling this up. But yeah, there you go, kids. You heard it here.
Eros. Harry
There we go.
Styles to star in Marvel's The Eternals as Eros. Okay, well, that's wonderful. And also, Superman's son is bisexual, dating a BuzzFeed pink-haired journalist, I
That's what I
believe.
want. That's what I want. That's what I like. That's what I wanted. That's what I want.
The
That's what
oh,
I want.
the ironic thing about all of this is literally right after the last Tentacle Croissant stream where we just rant like old men on their porch about the culture and everything, as we usually do. I immediately went to this light festival. It's called Signal Festival in Prague. This was the most amazing shit I've ever seen. Actually, just as a festival, like in 2018. Right when I landed here, I went to the 2018 Signal Festival. They mapped all the major churches in Prague and projected this amazing light show. They would literally like that stuff behind you, like the chandelier and the framing behind the mirror. They would basically outline that and project animation on the specific trims like of like the edges of
Ooh,
the mirror, and it would make
shit.
the front of the church like morph. Super LSD shit. I'm like, I can't believe they're projecting this stuff. This is really avant-garde. It would scare children at times, you know? So like the churches are like collapsing, there's like dimensions opening and all this other shit. The craziest stuff. 5 different locations, a ton of other exhibitions. They really are pushing the limits of what you can do with light projections. I was like, this is the future. This is the future.
Mm, that's beautiful.
2019 comes around. I don't know what happened. They lost their budget or something. It's like declining a little bit. I'm like, oh man, that's kind of a bummer. 2020, obviously, that didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
Comes back around a few days ago. Dude, one church was mapped, and it was only 3/4 of it. Let's just say that. Now, why I bring this up is because the other installations that I actually sent you a picture of, there was literally an exhibition where it was a megaphone on a tripod that screams about climate change at you.
That's what I want. Don't stop. Do more. It's what I want.
I mean, there's no subtlety. It's the metaphor come true. You literally go there and look at a megaphone, talk about climate change to your face.
Yeah, and then clap. Clap it. Clap the megaphone and show your solidarity, slave.
And one more thing that you would love. This is going to be great. I walked into an exhibition. The photos look super cool. We get in there. It's videos of undersea, like deep sea creatures. You know, the neon luminescent ones. They put faces of young women in the sea creatures talking about feminism.
That's what I want. More. I want more. 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 Don't stop. More. Finished.
Needless to say, I am now a marine biologist feminist, and that's going to be my new career title. It influenced me completely. I'm completely changing my worldview in general. And
it represents the weight of the sea, that these luminescent, and that sea is like the patriarchy, and it's just crushing them down, but their light still shines.
How did you know? That was actually in the description of the exhibit.
Oh, fuck you.
Dude.
No.
In the exhibit,
taking the piss.
Dude, the exhibit literally read, here we see undersea creatures under the weight of modern day problems that are buried deep down under the society that needs to be shed light upon, or some bullshit, bro. You should have seen the fucking words they use. It's like 5-6 syllable words to describe the thing. There was a one projection of the fucking moon on the wall, and they're describing the damn thing like the sedimentary layers of society amongst the projections of the butthole.
Yeah, postmodernists use a lot of words, many syllables, sound and fury, typically signifying nothing.
Yeah.
Look, I don't mind being in this simulation, but if the people in charge can hear me, just load another level. I'm so sick of this level. I've gone to every corner of this level. You know, when on a game where it won't load to the next level, so you go and look at the walls and you're like, is there a button I'm supposed to push? Is there one more zombie I missed? And I've been through all of it. I can't see what I'm supposed to do. So just bump me up, hit, like, I'll go back to level 1. I don't give a fuck. It's not this anymore.
Bring me back to level 1, bruh.
Yeah.
I've been starting to play Roblox, and it's like a fucking game for 9-year-olds, but actually it's an amazing game, and I'm so happy there. I don't have to worry about any of this.
Right.
But I mean, to further expand on this dialogue here, it's like a perfect example. What once was art that represents the transcendent,
Yeah.
it projected on massive facades of giant churches that pushes the limit of human ability and perception, collapsing walls and layers of mathematics and science combined that makes you think about the possibilities of what we can do as a species. And then now I'm looking at undersea creatures talking about how I'm bad for feminism or something.
Because you have a pee-pee. Just punch yourself in the pee-pee.
Dude, if I would have stood in the middle of this exhibit and punched myself in the balls, that would have been an actual art exhibition too. They would have thought I was part of the show.
Yeah, they would have clapped you. I just want every man in the chat to just hold his dingus and just hammer fist it. Bad dingus. Bad dingus.
Yeah, I mean the amount of vaginas that you see in art galleries these days is amazing, man.
I must spend more time in art galleries if that is the case.
Yeah, I guarantee if you go to a contemporary art exhibit, you're bound to see 1 or 2 vaginas. It's like a
Really?
common thing these days. Yeah, yeah.
Just throw a vagina on it.
Yeah, kind of. I see that a lot.
I always felt with the Catholic Church, their use of crosses can become sort of pornographic. Like they put crosses on everything. Cross, 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 cross. And I'm always like, that's an instrument of torture and death. And it's on the sleeves, it's on your jacket, it's on the fucking house. And I sort of wonder if that's what will come with like the vagina. Just go vagina, 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 vagina everywhere. And it'll just become meaningless. You're like, oh, another vagina. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah, it gets really pushed on your face, but it is ironic that the person that got nailed to this device is the ultimate symbol of this religion, but that literally is a torture device.
Yeah. Look at my lovely cross. It's like, I think you're supposed to follow what he said to do, not like lick his fucking death throes, you sick fuck.
Wait, isn't the fish some sort of sign of Jesus?
It is a sign of Yeshua.
So then
Yeshua.
why isn't the fish more used than the torture chamber thing?
Well, because it's a hijacked religion by the Romans, which is why it's the Roman Catholic Church. We live with Paul's religion, who was Saul, and he was originally going to go and capture the Christians and torture them. And then halfway there, he was like, oh no, I really love Jesus now. And he spoke to God. And because he spoke to God, we should all accept that. But when I do, they put me in asylum, the fuckers. And I really think there was obviously this was a rebel. These were rebellious Jews, which is where we get the term Sicario. The Sicari were these violent rebel Jews, are a real problem for the Romans. So the Romans either took a religion and then warped it, or they gave the Jews the Messiah they were looking for, but made them their guy, which is really clever. Like, I'll give the rebels the Messiah, but I pull the strings. So yeah, I think that's why you don't see a fish, you see a torture device. They're obsessed with it. And the Catholics are the worst. The Roman Catholic Church, you go in Spain and Portugal, and you'll see the 12 stages of the cross, and they build these really lifelike models where the flesh looks alive, and it's Jesus naked, Jesus nude with hard nipples being spanked, and then he's whipped, and then the Roman soldiers tweak his nipples. And it's like, there's a lot of naked, hot 30-year-old dude being bound and bashed around here. Like, I'm just saying, like, is that like reverence and humility? And I don't know, man, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, that should only be behind bedroom doors, no? That type of thing?
I would have said so. It seems a bit of an inversion. And we're so like drowned in imagery today of bodies that it doesn't really affect us. But could you imagine going into a church and the only other human body you've seen, or male body, is like your ugly, dumb husband and your son? And then it's just like, naked, ripped Jesus. Like, oh, fucking hell. Like, I'm not trying to be like, but come on, like, that's pretty hot. What are they doing? What are we doing this for? Is
Is
that what
this your
would Jesus come back and be like, more of that? Fuck, I look great.
yeah.
I've turned white for some reason, but
I mean,
I'm actually
imagine.
Palestinian. I don't look like that, but thank you.
Yeah, imagine coming back and just seeing your dead body in one of the worst, I mean, the only worst death that you ever experienced,
Yeah,
just
you're
being
like, that's literally the worst moment of my life, guys. And you're doing this for me? Okay, I don't want you to do that anymore. I never want to see that shit again. They broke my legs and then speared me. It sucked balls. It was an awful day.
and now I get to relive it for
Yeah,
eternity.
eternity. Yeah,
Bro.
yeah. But you have to be reminded. I really do think there's like it's some fucking sick Freudian psychology. You have to be constantly reminded that this amazing guy, the most wonderful, best dude who ever lived, he just died in terrible agony for you. You did this 2,000 years before you were born, but you did this. You did this.
That's crazy, right? Like,
Ah,
how could is there a possible way for us to hypothetically die and say that we did this for generations 2,000 years from now?
if you have the power that the Romans had in at the time of his passing, sure, they ran the world. I mean, the Roman Catholic Church to this day is the biggest real estate owner in the world. Yeah, they ran the world. The Romans ran the world at that time. So yeah, if you had that kind of sway and power, clout, they had the Roman Church had clout, big clout.
Damn, bro.
They had a lot of likes and followers on their Instagram
Yeah.
in the year 20.
So the modern day version is a $100 million superhero movie that yells at you about the climate changing.
Well, it's interesting. I was just I didn't click on it because I'm a bit overwhelmed by the Jordan Peterson's podcasts.
Yeah.
They're a bit too cerebral for me. But I was in a traffic jam and I punched the wrong button, and I ended up halfway through someone talking about environmentalism and the climate change thing and the apocalypse of climate change. And this dude, I don't remember his name. You'll have to look up Jordan Peterson climate change. It's a 2-hour interview. I listened for about half an hour. Was talking about how we want an apocalypse and we've changed one apocalypse for another. But it's basically like a human drive. We need the sense that the world is ending, which we've lived with in Christianity for 2,000 years. Which before,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. That's fascinating. What was the apocalyptic vision during the Christian era? Just it was just written like the world's just going to end.
no. If you read the book of Revelation, it is the weirdest. It's either the guy was tripping balls on some psychedelic or it's code for magic. It's got to be, or it's most likely code for magicians. It's all so he's John, but we don't know which John he is. We don't know if he's John, if it's John the Baptist or which John is it, but it's John. And he's saying what he sees at the end of days and how death will come and pestilence will come, and it's like a nightmare. It's a bad trip. At one point, these beasts come with this. They have the scorpion. They have a tail like a scorpion, a head like a lion, and when they strike you and they sting you, it's agonizingly painful, and you're in agonizing pain for 3 months. It's really weird. There's beasts. There's leviathanic creatures with 7 heads, with 7 crowns and 7 seals on them. There's angels. It's a real mess. It's not a pleasant read. It's the stuff of nightmares, the final book of Revelation. And this is what Christians believe will happen at the end of the world. And then at the very end of it, Christ comes back and kills the iniquitous and sends them to hell and sends the righteous to heaven.
Yeah, that's a little harder of a sell these days.
It's a tough sell for sure. It's a tough sell. A lot of the Bible that isn't cherry picked is a tough sell. It's a tough sell.
But the more and more that you look at the parallels between religious behavior and what's happening now without religion, becomes more and more apparent. And for some reason, I never linked climate change to the apocalyptic visions of the biblical stories or most major religions. But it's
Mhm.
very true. A lot of human society functioned with this like mythological apocalypse somewhere off in the distance. And no matter how hard you try to like live past that, well, we
Mm.
just basically substituted it for something that obviously it does have a bit more weight. I'm not denying climate change necessarily, but yeah.
You be careful.
What do you mean? I don't deny it.
If they come for you, I can't help you. I don't know anything about it. But he wrote a book called Apocalypse Never. And when he's not a scientist, this guy who wrote Apocalypse Never, who was being interviewed by Jordan Peterson, said the evidence for an apocalyptic end result of the climate change that we're seeing is actually quite scant. There isn't really a ton of scientific evidence that says we're on a pathway to a world-ending apocalypse. I don't know enough to say one way or the other.
Yeah.
I do
But
think we should behave responsibly and stop squirting plastic into the ocean. That seems barbaric, but
right. I
the
guess
idea that
I'm
we're on the path to apocalypse is
yeah,
the evidence is scant.
I think I might have come across that same podcast, but I guess I'm just looking at the words climate change for exactly what it means through the text being used, which isn't common nowadays, but the climate is changing. Whether if it is the world blowing up, I mean, I think humans will do that before the weather does.
I think he made that point. He said that, you know, with the meta-analyses in terms of risk of apocalyptic scenarios to humanity, viruses are worse, war is worse. Some people even think the chance of us being hit by an asteroid is more cataclysmic and more likely than the kind of climate change predictions that we're seeing. Yeah, we like apocalypse. It's kind of sexy. It makes you important. You would be the generation that saw the end of days. You would be the person who would see the end of days. And I suspect it's probably something to do with the way human consciousness functions. We know we're going to die. So your personal apocalypse is going to happen. You will see the end of your own life. You will have a day which will be your last day. And most animals don't have to live with the weight of that. And any day could be our last day. You get hit by a truck tomorrow.
Hmm.
So I think that sense of impending doom is already there. So if we can externalize it and say, oh, that will be the day that Jesus comes and then I live forever, well, that's soothing. Forget about the
Yeah.
beast with the 7 anuses and the 20 cocks.
But yeah, the end point of death is often a catalyst for purpose or perceived purpose. Because without that end point, then it doesn't come as naturally. It's like you can even look at it as like, I don't know, a young 18-year-old lad looking to serve the troops and the impending doom that might come with, being deployed and fighting, and then you die in the battle. It gives you the purpose that the death is, kind of sets that endpoint for you.
Mhm.
And I think humanity as a whole needs that in order to function with some sort of unconscious purpose.
Definitely.
It's like you even see that with like a lot of like, I don't know, big name celebrities. Like, I'm gonna die one day, so I need to leave a legacy. Like, yeah,
Yeah, if you are really tuned into your own personal death, you definitely become more purposeful because the way you perceive reality starts to shift, and you see there are a certain number of times I'll see my mother before she dies. There are a certain number of times I will see the moon, the full moon, before I die. There's a certain and it's finite. It's not infinite, and it can build purpose, and it can build reverence and humility as well. It's not a bad way of looking at the world.
and say if 90% of babies weren't accidents, and we were actually in control most of the time of reproducing, the perceived notion of children is kind of to outlive that endpoint. So it
Mhm.
gives you purpose to raise them because it moves past your endpoint.
Yeah, you want to squirt your missiles forward into the future, which is probably a pretty good psychological metaphor for the space race. It's a desire for immortality. We're trying to squirt, and the missiles are even the same shape, and they're thrust out of the cell wall of Earth into pure potentiality into space. I think it's all very Freudian and very phallic.
Yeah, and,
squirt it out.
like, even a small little example today, but this is like a total LSD thought that everything's a smaller and bigger version of itself.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so
You know?
trippy, man.
Isn't that awesome? But that's literally what you
I
just
love
said.
it.
It's like, you know, when babies are made, something squares and then it's like it goes into unknown territory, breeds new life. If we're shooting missiles into unknown territory, it's trying to breed new life. Mushrooms do the same thing. They literally grow up out of the floor looking like a wang, and then it squirts everywhere and it just breeds new life. It's all the same thing. And
Jizzes
like,
all over the forest.
yeah, and then more, then more, and then
More.
more.
More of
And
me, more of me, more of me.
yeah.
Enough of you.
Even what spawned this earlier today, spawn
Ooh.
was like a picture of, I think it was like a top-down shot of New York or something like that. And I was looking at it with a friend, and we were like, "Man, that looks like a motherboard, like a computer chip." Pulled out a motherboard, a picture side by side. It's like almost, if you zoomed out far enough on a top-down image of a city and a motherboard, it's the same exact thing, and they save the same purpose. There's centers of corporate tall-ass buildings that like generate the what do you call it? The infrastructure, the income, the thing. Everyone's getting paid. They're sending information out, coming back at a routine. It's, there's cities that are laid out. Some shit looks like train tracks, and it's all the same stuff.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. I was recently in London City. I went to Canary Wharf, where I used to live. It's the only place where there's really skyscrapers, or a lot of skyscrapers in London. And you do get that as you watch all of the worker bees go out and in waves like a tide, spewed out of the underground up into these towers to serve. And then they go back down at the end of the day and they spew back out. It's like a tide coming in and out.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get like a similar, really similar feeling. Like there's something bigger that's going on. Obviously, there's something bigger going on here. It's finance, it's the economy, but something else. There's
Yeah.
something else beyond all that.
And
Something archetypal.
it naturally fits the same geometry too. Like someone in the chat is like, veins, rivers are the veins of land in general.
Mm.
Trees and the branches fit the same structure as neurons to even like, what do you call, like lung passageways too. It all
Capillaries.
branches
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Like all
Yeah.
fractal. It's all the same thing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's all everything. Did you say everything is a smaller and bigger version of itself simultaneously?
Yes.
Oh, love it.
That's trippy as hell, man.
That's trippy as fuck. Bronchi. Broccoli and bronchi. Yeah. Yeah. It does all look the same. And it is all the same thing. Sometimes in a sort of a Gnostic sense, like a Cathar or a Bogomil, I kind of want it to stop. I kind of want it to stop. I may be the bad guy in this movie, you know.
You'd be
I,
what's his name? That like what's the evil super villain? Yeah, the snaps the thing.
well, there's a few baddies who wanted to just. I think even Ultron. I think even Age of Ultron, the other Avengers movie. I think even Ultron wanted to kill everyone. James Spader played the robot thing, Ultron. But I would, so I would be the bad guy who would be doing it for everybody's own good. Like I would just be like, this is just hell. This is purgatory. This is all suffering, terrible, terrible suffering. It's time to stop. Isn't it nice to sleep? Isn't silence beautiful? I can give you silence forever. And I'd be trying to push the button, and the superhero would be like, "No, you madman!" I go, "Who's crazy? I want them to stop suffering."
Well, that's one option. And I'm thinking, okay, if we look at what's happening now, specifically like the ideology wars and the what do you, like the massive ambiguity that's happening, how would that translate to something bigger and smaller of itself, and like in a physical geometric way? Is it like white and red blood cells attacking each other, or I mean viruses and white blood cells? Like what's the most similar thing to what's happening psychologically here?
It would be like too many of a particular type of bird in one section of the Amazon rainforest, and the ecosystem allowed the bird to thrive and flourish, but then the ecosystem hits carrier capacity, can no longer carry that many birds, and they start to kill each other, or they develop some weird
Mm,
virus and die, or the thing that they're eating that keeps them alive, that suddenly dies. Like the ecosystem rebalances itself. And
yeah.
this is you need a bit of Sheldrake here, and you need a bit of Jung, because it's archetypal, as in it takes place behind the scenes, but it creates an order in that chaos. And then you have the idea of morphogenetic fields from Sheldrake. Something is happening that has purpose, but it's spontaneous. It's a
Hmm.
spontaneous purposefulness, which is quite hard for my tiny human brain to wrap around. But there's something there. So yeah, that would be a similar thing, or a self-limiting virus, like a virus just going,
Yeah.
let's not mutate anymore. Let's cease, because we're killing the host, and if we kill the host, we're dead.
Right. What's fascinating is that, okay, the human thing in general is separated from everything else because of its conscious will, and we can rationalize things and develop things. We have these abstract concepts. But then when we put it out, it just almost reflects nature in a weird way. For example, like the city thing, the computer chip thing, and anything else that could maybe look like that. We're consciously like, oh, what's the best structure for this building to exist here? And this, and this, and this, and this. And we're like, oh, our free will, we can choose to make it like this and this and this. But then it just ends up looking exactly as the geometry that just naturally floats out.
Yeah, because whilst we think we will things to action, and in some ways we do, we're also a spontaneous archetypal occurrence. And
Yeah.
we can't we can't really get past our nature, which is nature, because we have reptiles in us, because we have monkey and tiger, and all the things are in
Yeah.
us. They're all inside of us. They all inform what we do. Trees are in us, spores are in us, bacteria is in us.
Yeah.
We think we're divided from the unity, and we act as though we are, but we're really not.
But how crazy is it that, like, this is a lot, but how crazy
I'm
it
actually starting to trip a little bit. So yeah, let's
yeah,
keep going.
how crazy is it that, for example, do ants go to war? Yeah, or most of these creatures do, right?
They can do,
But
yeah.
they don't have ideology. You know what I
We
mean?
don't know that, but yeah,
They
probably not.
probably have their own somewhere. But oh, have you ever watched Bugs Life or
Yeah,
Ant?
right.
What was that other ant movie or whatever? But like the fact is that we are abstracting and conceptualizing a million times more than most of these other creatures from what we know of. But with even all of that abstraction, we still follow a particular path that so many other microorganisms, major organisms, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
It's like what even happened during all that conceptualization anyway if we just end up following down the path.
You're talking a little bit like Nietzsche. I don't know how well known it is, but one of Nietzsche's criticisms of philosophers and philosophy was it seems to be intellectual and self-willed, but it's actually your biology. So whatever your philosophy is, it's actually a reflection of your biology. So if your philosophy
Right.
is like, I believe in the Ubermensch and Superman and strength and individuality, that's because you're genetically predisposed to that. If you believe in other ideologies, it's genetics that causes you to believe that. So many things are a post hoc justification for where you were already genetically predetermined to go in that view.
Yes. And like even the structure of the internet in this post-physical space, it still functions and is shaped like a network that already exists physically too. So
Yeah. If I drink orange juice, does it make the trip harder or softer? I can't
it makes the
remember.
trip way harder.
Is that true?
I think it's mostly placebo, to be honest with you.
Did I tell you the story that I was tripping once and I asked some punks how to, literal punks,
Yeah,
how,
you
like,
told me, yeah.
yeah, I told you. And they said, drink orange juice, you'll feel better. I fucking didn't. I went to the church, and the church was talking to me about ancient Africa and intergenerational trauma and the pathway of humanity. I was like, I didn't want this. I wanted it to stop.
But now take it.
Take it.
Take it. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I guess that's a free will versus fate sort of idea here.
Yeah. And I think that's where it takes a certain kind of mind to wrestle. To me, that's almost like a peak. There's certain elements of philosophy that everybody can access and should. That one is a black belt topic of discussion
Mhm.
because people argue very passionately about it. And I think they often they haven't even defined the terms of what they mean between free will and predetermined. You got to stay really balanced with that and keep your mind wide open. You got to keep it gaped.
I mean, I'm not here to argue it, but let's just say I find it really fascinating. For example, how you say the feeling you get when you watch a really good TV series or movies. Squid
Mm.
Game. Did you finish it yet?
Oh, Squid Game! I loved it. Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
finish it?
Yeah, I ended up binging the last 3 episodes. I lost my impulse control.
So good,
Mm.
man.
Really good,
Oh my god.
really good. If that's what the Koreans are going to produce, they should just give all the budget to them and
For
just
real.
go. We would just make more, please.
For real. Super good. But, when you watch a show like that or something that's just really enticing, that's already there. The whole 10 episodes are already there, and you
Mm.
can stream it at any point, and hundreds of other people have seen it already. But when you sit and watch it, you don't know what's gonna happen,
Yeah,
and you feel like you don't know what's gonna happen, and you're watching these characters in real time play out their own will that are all conflicting each other, and you don't know how it's gonna end up, but that sensation you get in that present moment watching, you sense that free will, but it's already there for millions of people by now, and it has been.
yes. So it's predetermined how the show will go, but for the individual watching the show for the first time, they don't know where it's going to go. So it doesn't. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
It's interesting, right?
Well, it's quite meta. Squid Game is kind of quite meta in the way that The Matrix was, because obviously we're watching a film, and the film is about simulations. The film is about a film. Squid Game is really it's about life. You wake
Mm,
up and you don't know what game you're going to play, but the consequences are terrible and final. And I really liked I won't give any spoilers, but the final game that they play. Oh, sorry, the penultimate game they play demonstrates that you only move forward and you only know what you need to know right after you needed to know it. I was like, this is a perfect metaphor for life.
wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know practice, and here is the game now, and you
Yeah.
move forward only.
Yes.
Then you
Move
die.
forward. And the wrong choice based on nothing, based on feeling, gut instinct, which is how really people are making choices every day, if we're telling the truth. And then everybody behind you, generationally, treads that same path that was carved in death, a horrible, terrifying, violent death.
Yes.
Everyone behind you treads that same path. I was like, that's a really cool metaphor. A lot
For
of it
the
is a really good metaphor for life and how we live.
for the illusion of reward, money, whatever you might perceive that reward to be.
Yeah, yeah. And the cost, it's the cost of success as well. And
Yes.
why
Right.
we
Right.
why
Yeah.
we would play the game and why I don't think it's too much of a giveaway to say that there is an option to leave and people don't take it, and if they do take it they go back. That's so true to life. It's
Right.
so
Oh
true.
shit. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
you could stop. Okay, I'll stop. What's it like when you stop? It's the characters even say it's worse torture out here. The real world is worse torture.
Mhm.
One of the episodes is called Hell, and I feel like there's this Buddhist Wittgensteinian spirit to the whole thing, which is like it begs the question, like, is life itself hell? Is it actually a game that we're forced to play by higher order beings represented as, whatever? I won't say more because it'll be spoilers, but that we're compelled to play. And in some ways life is a kind of hell.
Yes. And there's a discussion online too. Like the ethics of whether if it really is their choice or not, because technically they consciously went back.
Mm.
But under what circumstances and at what point isn't it your fate or free will?
Well, they're all, which is a great point, because they're all weak. They're all weak. They're all psychologically very vulnerable people. And you have to really think about the show for a little bit longer than what the show will give you, because it's action packed. It's only afterwards you think, no, they were completely exploited. They had the illusion of choice, but
Oh, yes.
they're so weak, so that whoever's running the show can say, well, you had a choice to leave. Yeah, okay, that's like dangling alcohol in front of an alcoholic or heroin in front of a heroin addict and saying you had a choice not to take it.
Yeah.
You know damn well they're going to take it.
Yeah, and God is like, this is also giving you a chance.
Yeah. I told you not to eat that delicious. And you know where in the book it is? It's in the middle of the garden. The middle. That's what it says in the book. What an asshole. What a fucking asshole. Oh, you see this? That's in the middle of the garden. Don't eat this delicious low-hanging fruit. Okay, did you get that? Okay, I'm leaving now. And then he leaves, the all-powerful being, to his office or wherever the fuck. And he's like, bye, kids. I'll see you. Don't eat. Don't do the thing I totally told you not to do. And then he fucks off.
That's right. I mean, if you leave it in the middle and they're starving,
Yeah.
and if you take it, you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not fair.
No, I think this is original Jewish comedy. I think this is like 4,000-year-old Jewish comedy. I really do. I really don't think that that's a sensible story. God comes out, but he walks in the shade because it's a hot day. I'm like, this is some fucking Noel Coward style farcical play. And we're reading the lines of a play that's meant to be funny. And we're like, no, it's serious. And we should just take this seriously. I don't think it's meant to be serious at all. It can't be. It's weird. It's like the Book of Job. That's an ancient Jewish comedy as well. It's not a morality play. I don't think.
It's kind of like life, right? You wait long enough, everything becomes a little funnier.
And isn't that, I know not to stereotype, but isn't that the sort of the stereotype that like that sort of, like when you think of the tradition of Jewish comedy, it's fatalistic. It's, well, you know, oh well. And I think all of that was not, whenever it says God said this, God did that, the translation is actually, and it was so. It's just saying life is like this. It's not saying there's a God who's like with a face and hands doing anything. It's a metaphor. They're like, well, life is like this, and life is like that, and life is like that. That's all it is.
I actually thought about this type of thing a few days ago, and I was thinking, okay, because I remember old sitcoms and particular movies and whatever else, they all have a moral to the story, is and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, why wasn't I annoyed by that back then? Like,
Right.
what was it about it that was different? Because nowadays it's only morals, but it's done in such a way about a specific ungrounded moral that just is infuriating to watch.
Mm.
What do you think that specific difference is?
I really think it's cultural. I think we got hooked to morals in stories, and it probably goes back to a specific. It'll be some Greek. It'll be Aesop's fables, and there are other religious stories that clearly have moral elements in, and they are fables. They are morality plays, but not all stories are, and we shouldn't expect all stories to be. Some of the Native American legends, some of the morality plays, some of them aren't. And you're like, what is it teaching me? Nothing. Nothing. It's like humans are stupid and evil and they die sometimes. Well, where's the morale? What am I to learn from that? Nothing. It's telling you something, but there's nothing. It's like, it's a statement of fact. It's not. So I think somewhere along the line, we got addicted to that. Like, we got addicted to canned laughter. It's like, this is how a story goes: beginning, middle, end. Oh, realization that like giving to others before yourself and this. And it's always dumb. It's always slightly patronizing and stupid to be told a fable.
Yes, but so do you think that's more of a recent occurrence, or has that always been a part of it?
I think I'm gonna make a stupid claim here and say it's from Aesop. It's Aesop forward, so whatever Aesop is, like 2,000 years. You look at like the Sumerian, Babylonian stories and all. They don't really have those. Some of the Bible stories that are pre 2,000 years ago, they don't really have a morality to them. There's not like
Hmm.
there
Hmm.
isn't like a hidden message in them. Maybe we got addicted to hiding messages and things.
But I and if it is hidden, it's a little more digestible. And I guess my thing is I don't really have a problem so much about having a story that ends up having a morality thing, but
Mm,
it has to be done in a way that really shows the consequence of action that realistically portrayed. Not even realistic, because like fantasy and like folklore has that as well.
mm,
The
mm,
way that it's done now is like climate change, you bad. Like, it's so in your face and it doesn't show anything realistic in terms of like how the characters interact and how certain situations come to be because of certain actions.
well, yeah, probably the traditions change. Like a wisdom tradition, or a magical tradition, or a religious tradition would be handed down from the elders. So they would be
Yeah.
bestowing their wisdom harder, like some dude or some old woman with one eye and a hand missing who's lived, like, she's lived, and she's like, you should probably do it like this, kid. And you'd be like, wow, yeah, okay. That's different to some 22-year-old out of writing school slapping you in the face with the talking points of some stupid BuzzFeed article.
Yeah.
It's context and intent is incredibly
Yeah,
important.
like, we bring up the Jordan Peterson thing of, like, Pinocchio or Peter Pan, right?
Mm, mm,
I think it's a pretty good way of depicting certain things. Like if you
mm,
lie, your nose won't literally grow bigger, but there will be consequences if you just
mm,
continuously lie all the time. And
mhm,
it kind of explores what happens if you go down this particular thing,
mm,
and then what happens to characters in your life if that happens, and what happens to you,
mm.
But there's no subtlety. That doesn't explore those dynamics or even character growth in general.
Probably when we were evolving these kind of stories, it wouldn't be story time every day. It might be story
Yeah,
time on
that's right. That's right.
Saturday, on the
That's right.
Sabbath, like once a week, then or at the full moon or a harvest. But we're addicted to listening to stories all
Mm,
day, every
yeah.
fucking day. Instagram even has it. It's called stories because we're addicted to stories. It shouldn't be.
Interesting.
It should be every once in a while. You should work. Maybe at the end of the day, you sit around the campfire, you talk about the hunt, and you talk about what you farmed that day, and then that's it. And special occasions, you put a play on. Special occasions, the elders tell the story of the origins of our people. But we're doing it every day, and it's infantilizing. To hear a story puts you into an infantilized mindset. We're even taught in marketing and in hypnotherapy to tell people stories because it takes them back to when they were 4 in primary school, and they'd sit in a circle and they'd look up at the teacher whilst the teacher told them the legend of the fucking Goldilocks or whatever.
Never thought about that. Being addicted to story and the function of the interval that stories are told.
Mm.
It never happened in such frequency until now, right?
No, you're not supposed to fantasize this much because this is the one of the many things that's ruining modern romance is it's over storyfied. We've consumed too much romantic comedy. We've consumed too much ideology, like in the Zizekian sense, way too much, and we would be better off having an understanding of what it takes to hold a relationship together long. Nobody has a fucking clue. They're like, oh, I went into a relationship and it didn't fucking work. It's like, well, what did you do to make it work? Well, I showed up. What was your sacrifice? I had sex with them. That's your commitment. You had sex with them and you're disappointed it didn't work. Wow. I'm sorry that it wasn't just a wonderful fucking party for you 24/7. It's hard living with another human. Who's going to teach you how to do that? The elders would have done, but now not.
Okay. I think I'm onto something here. We all live in a time where we're over storyfied. Whether you go on social media and your Instagram stories, the thing you consume on YouTube, the movies that are here, the Netflix this, Netflix that, the video games that I'm addicted to. When you in that ecosystem and in that environment where everything around you is a story and you don't have a story, you die. Your existence would mean nothing. Therefore, in order to exist as a person in the current climate of overstorification, you have to insert yourself somewhere in some story.
What you just said could be done by, like, you know, that guy on TikTok who does really good Jordan Peterson impersonations,
Yes.
and nobody would know whether it was Jordan Peterson or you. Nobody would know. What you just said could be ripped from a Jordan Peterson lecture. When you
I'm
don't
pretty
have a
proud of that.
story, you die.
Pretty much. Pretty much. But yeah, man, it's like, I think that's what it is.
Hmm.
Because if you're so used to only seeing stories around you,
Hmm.
then how would you feel if you're not a part of a story?
Terrible. And this is why I keep asking Germans to come up with the German composite word for the anxiety that comes from my lack of significance. That's what we suffer with now. That's the biggest mental health issue facing the world now. The angst and anxiety I suffer with because I don't fucking matter. And social media reminds me every day. I don't, or the mainstream media, the world reminds me every day, I don't fucking matter. That's incredibly tough for a human being to deal with. We always mattered. We had our tribes. And if we were lost or died, somebody wouldn't get fed. Somebody wouldn't have the special way that you weave the fucking clothes, or I don't know, whatever thing that you do for your tribe, it's gone. And the tribe survivability goes down because you're not there. Wow, you matter, but you matter in a fucking visceral way.
Mm.
Now, I'm a software programmer. I died.
It's interesting because say you're a tailor or farmer in a small village. There's not necessarily a story there. Some stories pop up here and there. You know, some drunkard walks in and demands the suit, and you say no. But when you're just providing a service that's quintessential to the village, you need to be there because they want you there and they need you there. And, you know, it feels good to be needed to provide that service. There doesn't need to be a story. But when you lose an important role in general, the next best thing is a story. And better yet, you becoming a part of the story.
Probably it was easier to recruit people for war the more civilized we became because of the lack of stories and the lack of significance.
Ooh.
If you're raised in a village, like we're talking arable farming developed 5,000 years ago, the duller life becomes and the safer it becomes, the easier it would be to recruit young men to go to war with stories, so that they have stories, so that they can be woven into a part of a grander narrative, like the Crusades, for example, which was really shit. Like, do you want to go on a really long, hard journey to an extremely foreign place full of people who, if they capture you, want to torture you to death slowly? Yes, please. I sure am bored of this fucking village.
Yes. That would make a lot of sense. I mean, what is the main demographic for war games in general? Suburban kids with nothing to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know what? A good percentage of those kids most likely decide to enlist because of the games, because it gives them something that's not a boring, dull suburban life.
Did you say most of the kids playing the games have a dull suburban life, or most of the kids who sign up for the USMC, the Marine
No,
Corps?
who play the games.
There probably will be. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there'll be a crossover.
Yeah, I don't know how big that would be necessarily, but for sure, a good demographic who play those games are people in suburban living. I mean, you
Sure.
have to have that income and the resources to have the time to even do it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think in the UK, when I was looking at joining the army, they said for the infantry regiments, it was mainly northern towns. So there was a disproportionate representation in all infantry regiments of people from Liverpool, people from Newcastle, people from Glasgow, which are towns where there was work, there was manual labor for generations, and then it slowly dried up. So there's just no opportunities and it's boring. So that's what
Yeah.
you can do instead. And they even said, like, join the army, see the world. You know, well, you can travel, you can ski, you can make friends, you can do this, you can do that. You may have to kill some people, but don't worry about that. Focus on the skiing.
Interesting. Yeah, man. Because that's probably exactly the reason why drama videos, and when I say drama videos, it's not even just like Jeffree Star YouTube. I'm like, even the, what do you say, the intellectual dark web people, the Rogan people, the right wing, whatever, the politics, the news media, that's all dramatized. There's a word for it too. It's all drama that people get addicted to because of the lack of story in their own lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe, yeah, maybe we've just meandered into a way of describing like the polarization and the politicization of everything. It's a safe way. Maybe it's like an online role playing game. You can go and join
Yeah.
your team, hit the shield wall, and push alongside your brothers and sisters in that fight against the enemy who you hate.
I came up with a really silly hypothesis that probably has no weight at all. But the more and more I play video games, and this Roblox game is super great because a bunch of people can join. So it's like people that watch the streams can play with me at the same time. And I thought about like people that wouldn't play this stuff at all, and they're like super into where you say like daytime dramas or whatever else that tried to like leak that into their real life.
Mm.
My hypothesis is that if these types of people had an actual game that's a bit more tangible, perhaps a video game, the martial arts thing, I don't know, tennis, whatever, would that person feel the need to play games with others in real life? The drama games, the unhealthy ones.
Yeah, no, I see where you're going. Like, I posted a quote today that was like, modern people are they're mentally overstimulated and physically overfed.
I
And
saw that
so,
quote that you
right.
posted. That's good.
So are we sedentary, bored slobs suffering from narcissistic affluenza, lazily looking for stimulus, and that's what drives the political drama? Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
I mean, that sounds like a really trite statement. So I would reverse it. Take that out. So there's no slobs. There's no sedentary slobs looking for stimulation. Take that Jenga piece out of the Jenga tower. Doesn't it fall? Who's gonna fight over this shit? Who's gonna
Hmm.
fucking fight over the dumb stuff that we've been fighting for the last 10 years? You have to be wealthy and bored to get really upset about some of this stuff that
Right.
everybody knows doesn't matter. Everybody fucking knows it doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And when you are sending your 140 characters on Twitter about your balls being bigger than Joe's, you know,
Mhm.
is that really making a difference?
Yeah, well, you could say that about anything anybody ever does online. If there was an app that before you posted anything online, as a content creator, as a user, whatever, it just flashed up on screen. Is this going to make a difference? Question mark. And you
Oh,
have to
that,
tap.
oh,
You have to tap yes. I wonder how much it would reduce of the
that would,
online noise.
that's fascinating. That's a great idea.
Mm.
And I guess where I'm going with this is that my balls are bigger than yours as a tweet, and shooting someone in the head in Call of Duty.
Mm.
One of them has an arena where you're supposed to do that,
Mm.
and you can talk shit in that arena, and
Mm.
it's still, it gets that itch, not satiated, but it's there in a more controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is with the intention of genuinely trying to make a difference, whether you want to be better than them, whether you want to be better for the earth, whatever, but it
Mm.
doesn't really. Could that same desire be there for both?
Yeah. Yeah, you're saying would there be like a healthier expression for that
Right. And
impulse?
what I'm trying to say, it's not like everybody play video games instead of argue with others, but maybe there would be
Maybe.
less arguments in a really terrible, situation or environment. Maybe just go play a fucking game and and shoot each other in the thing, or play some fucking Tekken 6 or whatever.
Well, even like what I was thinking is squash is quite hard, tennis is quite hard, but there are easier versions of squash and tennis. There's table tennis, there's paddle tennis, and instead of squash, you can play racquetball. I really think people should compete and they should get their bodies moving. Like
Yeah.
if I didn't go, I went to the gym today. You told me, I think you told me on Telegram. I don't know if you said it publicly, but like I remember you saying to me, you must go back to the gym and smash the fuck out of the bag.
Yeah.
Not technically, just get your aggression into the bag. And I trained today in one of my favorite gyms, and I was on the bag for an hour, just playing with different techniques, playing
Yeah.
soft, fast, slow, like hard hits, slow hits, and I was just like, I fucking had the time of my life.
Yeah.
And then I came away from that and I did my work, I did my meetings, and I feel tired. And all I want to do right now is lay down and read a book and sleep. Lay down, read a book and relax, and then sleep. If I didn't do that, how would I feel? Would I have fucking like,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
ah, I didn't punch the fuck out of a bag and kick the fuck. So I'm gonna go on say like shitty YouTube comments and make someone feel bad.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I've been taking a break because of the tattoo for a week or two, and I'm already feeling the bubbled aggression
Yeah,
still there.
yeah,
I'm a lot better at handling it these days overall, but I can still feel it, and it's
yeah.
really different when you release it. But I found the difference between the Call of Duty thing and 140 characters on Twitter. The social media game has no winner,
Right.
which is a safe way to compete.
Yeah.
'Cause you can't technically lose.
Yes. So it's for cowards then.
Exactly.
It's for cowards and bullies.
Yeah, you can't take a loss, you know?
Because if you stink at Call of Duty, which actually does take some skill. Are you talking about playing Call of Duty with the mics on and you're all playing a mission against other humans?
Sure. I
I've
mean,
tried that. It's really hard.
yeah, they're really good, man.
They're really, you just get shot. You just get fucking shot inside of seconds. It's so
Yes.
frustrating.
So, I mean, it's much easier to go on social media and talk shit in the same way to get those headshots as much as you can
Yeah.
without the risk of you losing.
Oh, that's why people use Twitter. Everybody's trying to deliver the perfect tweet, which is a headshot. I didn't get the fucking point. I was like, what are you all doing? Because I always saw it as like, that's a Facebook status update.
Yeah.
Why would you want a means of communication that's only but it's supposed to be a headshot? I'm going to say the most sassy. I'm just going to mic drop this thing. And people in the
Right.
comments will post fire emoji, fire emoji. Okay. It's a headshot. I get
You
that.
did it. You did it for the team. You were the last headshot. But then there's no winner. We just think that you won, and we can choose that you win because there's no official winner. Therefore, my side always wins.
Yay. Which is what it is, right? We always win. Actually,
Yeah,
the other
exactly.
team, they just came up with a really good counterpoint. That's something Donald Trump would say. Fuck him, fuck them, fuck everything. Okay, you're not going to address it then? No. We won, we won, we won.
Oh, that's so annoying. Oh God, the irritation is surging. That's so annoying.
Triggered.
That's really annoying. Like the fact that they just will always win because there's no losers.
There's no, we never lose. And that's a kind of narcissism because you can put everything into a double bind. And as long as you pretend to believe it, then you just exasperate the fuck out of your opposition. They'll just be like, no, I'm not listening to that because that's something that only a racist would say, or it's something that only a fucking liberal would say.
I have never been like a competitive person in that manner. Like, I don't care about kicking someone's ass at volleyball. It doesn't really mean much. I mean, there are moments I can get really competitive at fucking table tennis or whatever, just for fun, right? But I'm not a competitive person, but now more than ever, do I see the value of competition.
You say you're not a competitive person. Think about what it would feel like or does feel like when you slip a left hook like Canelo and then you deliver a liver shot and it lands. There really is a fucking tangible buzz. Sometimes in bachata, when you do it, when it's socials, it's public, and the stakes are quite high because you could look like a buffoon. You pull off like a sequence of 3 moves.
Mm.
You know you did good. The girl you're dancing with looks at you like, okay, that was fucking slick. There's an actual physical.
Yes.
There's a rush.
However, is that competition? Because I feel the same with a lot of things that I do. For example, like skateboarding, you flip a board around, you land it.
Risk, not
Risk.
competition. Risk.
Yes,
You
it's
can do it wrong, or you could, and you will do it wrong like 100 times, and once you do it right.
yes, you accomplish risk. You take risk and accomplish whatever that risk wanted.
Yeah.
I guess what I meant by competition is with others directly, perhaps in some certain maybe controlled way, because it teaches you how to take a loss. It teaches you how to get better to try to win another. It teaches you that there are sometimes winners and losers, and you can't fucking win all the time. You know, it's a lot of things.
But these are the people who get obsessed with the fake competition, because you said it's a fake competition because you never win, which is effectively a kind of bullying. They never feel good. They've never even like flipped a water bottle and caught it and gone, yeah, or thrown a fucking screwed up piece of thing and it hits the wall and goes, because they're just not physical people. Potent said once, like, some of these people are scratching for a crumb of serotonin. They just don't feel good. They never feel the surge of victory or the surge of joy. They don't know where it is. And they're bitter as fuck, man. They're mad. They're mad at you. They're mad at all of you watching, even though you didn't do anything wrong to them, because they project that you're all having a good time and they're not.
You ever see the doomer illustration? Like the crusty, fucking wrinkly
With
ass.
the little hat and the cigarette.
Yeah, the fucking doomer ass. Yeah. It's like these types.
Misery. Just pure, they live in misery. And nobody's taught them, like, I mean, I was raised in a family where you work, you set up a business, you make money. We're quite entrepreneurial. Everybody on both sides of the family, it's not uncommon for people to just go, I'm going to sell ice cream, I'm going to sell t-shirts. They're sporting people. They compete at high levels. I always thought that was normal. And as life went on, I was like, in many ways, I was lucky, because this is just what I just thought. This is what, going to the gym every day. Well, everybody in my family is training at something all the fucking time. They run businesses. They go to the gym. They compete at high levels in fucking triathlons and squash and running or whatever, even shooting. And that becomes normal. But the people you're talking about, they had no such role models. They had nobody around them for that. Nothing.
What's really clever too is saying that, like, they're not in a competition just so people don't try at all, and then compete with the people unconsciously. Clever.
That's the worst. It's the worst.
Clever.
That's that whole fake hipster, fake irony. I don't really care. I don't even really care. So why are you on Twitter then? Somebody said something shitty. Why are you reading? I thought you didn't care. So why would you read anything? Why don't you just go and sit there with your thumb up your asshole reading Camus, you pretentious fuck? Drink your fucking flat white and shut up. But they don't. They're actually, for me, it's the hypocrisy. It's the fucking hypocrisy. They're lying. They're super competitive. But I'm not really. I just don't care.
Oh God. Yeah. And my thing is, like, obviously I'm not the most organized person, but if there's one thing that I believe organization in is having safe spaces or designated areas where people can compete and like push themselves and like in a controlled environment, you know, like otherwise that drive just seeps out everywhere else on a casual conversation with Grammy, you know. It's like, why are you arguing with grandma, bruh?
Yes, yeah. Because remember that phase where people would shame you if you didn't argue with your family?
Yeah, what the fuck was that, dude?
That was 2020 in a nutshell, right there. If you didn't fucking argue with your family, you were a piece of shit. It's your moral fucking duty to educate your 80-year-old white working class grandfather that his fucking perceptions of race are not progressive. Can't you just sit there and die slowly? For Christ's sake.
Just eat the mashed potatoes that he made for you.
That he fucking made for you, that you didn't prepare in any way, in the table you didn't pay for, the plates you're eating off, you had no part of fucking...
Yeah, these motherfuckers don't even cook them for themselves or others, bro.
So I told Grammy, listen, that is not a word you should use around there. Just let her be old.
While I sit in her chair eating her food that she baked for 3 hours while sleeping in the clothes that she bought me with her money by using the computer to argue with other people on Twitter that she bought me with her money. And also I made a video on being an anti-capitalist.
Right, an anti-capitalist. And I'm always like, if you go out to a kampong in Malaysia, do you think they might say some things about other races that are not, or at fucking some township in Africa of like everybody's, come on, calm the fuck on, give people a chance. Yes, old people are not completely up to date with everything that we're doing progressively. What do you want to kill them? Like, I'm sorry. They're sorry. We're all fucking sorry. Jesus.
No, actually, they don't want to kill them. They want to save them because it's the time that the elderly need to be taken care of, Richie.
Yeah. You go ahead to the old people's home, tell them all about LGBTQ+, and good luck and God bless.
Dude, on Roblox, and there's a literal game made for 9-year-olds, but they have a bunch of mini games, and some of them are really awesome, zombie shooters, whatever. One of them I tried was Adopt Me. This game is made for fucking 7 to 8 to 9 to 13-year-olds. It's for dogs. You make your own pet. Like, you have your own pet. You have dogs that you take to school. You feed the dog. It's pretty cute, actually. You even got a bike in the game. You ride around in the neighborhood and, like, whatever. I go to the section where you buy food for the dog or clothes for the dog, right? One of the walls in the game is a bunch of hearts, and they called them pins that you can wear on your shirt. And they were all different colors. So I put my mouse cursor over it, right? And it said, trans guy pin, demi pin, bi pin, super fragile pin. There were like 30 pins on a game for 9-year-olds. The fuck does a 9-year-old need to know in a game where you adopt a little puppy about any of this?
Good. I'm glad that this is happening, and I want more. Whatever they're doing, please, more. Don't stop. This will make the world better. Go. More, please.
Is that your go-to? No, I'm going to use it. I'm going to steal that. I want more.
More. Just do more. This is great. I told you, didn't I went to, in California with my sister, to baby yoga for little tiny babies. And in the library in Encinitas, right outside the room where the baby yoga was, like this pyramid of books all about educating you about those things that you need to know when you're a child. It's a library for infants. Infant children training books on all that stuff, because when you are 8 years old, that's a priority. You need to know. You should learn young.
What happened to 8-year-olds just going, ew, when mommy and daddy kiss, dude?
Yeah, actually, all those fucking 8-year-olds are heterophobes on that basis. They are committing ew is a fucking hate crime, and I want those 8-year-olds held to account, because that is a microaggression against heteros, against my people. No more. I've had enough of these little 8-year-old fascists. They better do better.
You don't have to worry, because they're all demisexuals on Roblox now.
Good, good. This, good, good. This makes the world better. Please do more of this. This is important and necessary and good.
It's just unbelievable. Like, I'm glad that it's the only game that I found with just the like that was the only time I ever found something like that in the game. Otherwise, it's like I had to revert to finding a game like this that I can just enjoy without any of this fucking messaging.
Roblox. What is Roblox? Is it like Tetris or something?
It looks like Legos. And you get your own like little
Okay.
Lego looking character, you customize it, and you can go to a bunch of mini games. There's like Grand Theft Auto Roblox, there's like Zombie or Call of Duty Roblox, and then this one was the adopting the pet one with a fucking 30 pins on every sexuality involved. Like, the hell does that have to do with pets, dude?
Well, I really think it's important to get it into everything. When we buy tables, forks, computers, and lampshades, we should get it in there as well. We need to decide. We need to do better.
Do you think it's just gonna keep going though?
Well, you're more plugged in than me. I kind of feel like the resistance is definitely built. The conversation's changed.
Speaking of
Even
which,
the comments we get here on Tentacle Croissant, the tone has changed massively in 2 years.
have you seen the Peterson podcasts with Africa Brooks?
I actually
She's the black woman with the shaved head, and with Michaela too.
I found that a bit shrill. If it's good, I'll try, but it was a little bit much for me. It was all a bit shrill.
But the news here, or the point here, is that the tide seems to be shifting a bit more and more.
She was formerly very woke and progressive, and now sees that probably wasn't awesome as
Right.
she thought.
Right, and
Okay.
she even acknowledged a few things that I felt like personally with the whole YouTube situation, saying like kind of laid it out. Like, I'm I can see where you thought certain parts were a little, a little iffy here, but she goes like, I am an academic and I would never do this, but in this moment when I was posting infographics about BLM and this man messaged me, "Are you sure this is the right way to go about things?" I was acting completely out of character, and I wrote back, "How dare you question a black woman like me on such a matter?" And part of me felt great, but at the same time, just absolutely sick because I had thousands of people applauding me and I felt wonderful, but at the pit of my stomach, I did not take it very well. That type of a thing. But
Yeah,
that's kind of the dichotomy there.
I love British girls who actually have that accent, the received pronunciation. I really like it, but I, I'll go back. I'll look at it again. Well, it's good that people are waking up to it. Yeah, the tone's definitely changed. I mean,
Yeah.
the stuff that we would get in the comments when we started Tentacle Croissant that we just don't get now. That's partly because we're steamrolling people with
Yeah.
mockery. But also it's really changed. I think people are sick of it. Like
Right.
you changed. I changed.
Right.
We were
Yeah.
way more in that camp. And then we all sort of, well, not all, but like many of us kind of had a little bit of a sit down and think about it. It was like, okay, even if this is true, if even if X equals 5, is Y the solution to the equation? Even if that's true, is this the way we resolve it?
Right.
And it's like, can't be like that.
Sure.
Like, this is not going to generate more inclusivity. I think this is becoming like a snake that eats its own tail. The more we rail against name it, the more we're creating it. I think
Yes.
long term. We don't
For
do
sure.
anybody any favors like this.
Yeah, for sure. Like, try if you want, try looking at that podcast from kind of a peek into current millennial Gen Z YouTube social media culture. And use this as like a sort of a beacon of how things are evolving. That's kind of how I was listening to this at the moment.
I will, after we've finished here, I will play Age of Empires.
Okay.
And I will listen to the thing, and I'll do it from that point of view. I listened to clips and I wound through it, and I was like, I don't know. I think my endurance for the subject has gone. I used to listen to like that kind of material all the time. And I know you went through the same thing.
I
I
barely
can't.
do, man.
I fucking can't. I'm so sick of the conversation.
Yeah, same.
And I'm just like, oh God, really? Like, are we still doing this? I don't
Yeah,
even know how I would respond. If somebody approached me and was like, what do you think about, don't you think? I think I would probably just collapse and weep.
sure.
I wouldn't even
Yeah.
fight them. I'd just be like,
No,
leave me alone.
I only spent the last week maybe for a day or two, just kind of like touching base to see how this dialogue is going overall.
Yeah.
And there isn't really much in general, but this one I found fairly interesting just because I think it was a good signifier of tides shifting a little bit. That's why I
Yeah.
was
Okay.
kind of down to sit through it, because it wasn't like more combativeness for the sake of it. It was like, I was a part of this thing, and
Yeah.
honestly, it's not that great. And a lot of other people are kind of with me now here.
All credit to her for doing it as well, because you jump on a Jordan Peterson podcast, you're making it's like guilt by association. I think he even said that. I think he
Yeah.
actually even said that. It's guilt by association. You're going to get a certain amount of backlash. There's certain places, depending on your identity politics, that certain spaces you're not supposed to go into. And so respect to her for doing that, because she will get some
And
pushback.
of course, what comes with every Peterson podcast, he cries in it. I don't know if
Does
you
he
saw the
really?
part. He does, and it was actually very touching, but at the
Okay.
same time, a lot to handle, because she just says thank you to him, and he just loses it. And then
Oh.
at a certain point of his tears like falling out of his face,
Hmm.
he goes, and they called me Red Skull. And he was really hurt by this Red Skull thing,
Hmm.
because in his justification, he's like, Red Skull's a Nazi, and I'm not, and how dare they say such things?
That's interesting. It's interesting that he took it. He took it like that. It's funny. He's a mystery, really. Like sometimes he seems incredibly vulnerable and boy-like. He's kind of boy-like at times. He's kind of childlike at times.
Yeah.
Because I just would find that hilarious if somebody said that about me, and then
Yeah.
turned me into a red-skinned demon from hell, which is basically Satan. So Richard Grannon is Captain Satan Nazi. I'd be
Yeah.
like, great, that's great. I would own that. Yes, I am. I would just be like, yes, more. Say it more. More.
Right. He ended up owning it by like selling Red Lobster merch and stuff. But it was interesting to see that side of like, even, of course, we know him for sure, but like public figures that you wouldn't think would be hurt by certain things definitely are, you know?
I bought two Red Lobster t-shirts when Michaela Peterson mentioned it on Instagram, and I tried to buy a signed copy of the comic with Red Skull in it, but like I think 2 hours after she announced it, they were all gone. They're
Oh,
all
shit.
completely gone. I just wanted to have one, and then
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
like auction it for charity or something on a YouTube event, which I might
yeah.
do with the t-shirts actually, because I think they're limited edition. That's interesting. That's interesting that he took it to heart, and then he said that to her in that context. Which I don't think anybody does. Anybody believe he's a Nazi? Does anybody who's sane and has a job and pays their phone bills really believe that
Yeah.
that's what a Nazi says and looks like and acts like?
Dude, this is like becoming way, way more apparent as time goes on. There's such a divide from people who write these crazy articles and like write these comic books, and people who are the public who hear about these things, because it's starting to really show like, man, it really is like 2% of people that totally digest this crazy ideology and push forth this stuff. Most people are really just don't care, or they're just sick of it.
Yeah, and I suppose that would be my position on it. Would be kind of like accelerationism. The more they do it, the more absurd it becomes. So keep going. That's why I'm saying good. Keep going, because the more you do this, the faster the snake is gag throating its own ogga tail. Good. It will die. It will choke itself to death. Get the fucking more. Pump out more of
Yeah.
this absurd garbage, which is why I'm surprised that he was actually hurt by it, like as if anybody really thinks because of the Red Skull comic that, I don't know.
You know what it is? I'm sure it's in addition to everything else that's happened to him as well. Like that Red Skull thing is just an externalization of everything else.
In CPTSD terms, he seems to have like a really strong freeze depression response and an overwhelm response. He gets quite overwhelmed. Somebody in the comments said he's not protected, and it might be also an age thing. Like the internet isn't real. Did you see the new Dave Chappelle special?
I'm probably gonna do that tonight.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I'm gonna do it tonight.
He says, I don't want to ruin one of the jokes.
Yeah, dude, I'll watch it tonight. We'll talk
Yeah,
about
next
it on
week.
Telegram.
Next week we'll talk. But
Yeah.
like the social media space, nobody should be taking this at face value or anything anybody says or does. It's all reaction seeking communication. It's all nonsense. It's nonsense.
Oh, one thing that is a total landmine to talk about, which I'll bring it up.
Let's
I don't
go.
want to exactly clarify, but let's just say this. Did you hear about the trans woman that fought in the women's division in MMA?
It sounds like the setup for a joke.
Have you or no?
No, I'm unplugged. No, I haven't. It's trans woman. Is that?
That is male to female. I hope I'm getting this right.
Okay.
The male to female trans woman, an ex-Navy SEAL. You should see the photos. When she was a Navy SEAL, like swole as fuck, huge, muscular, fought in the women's MMA division. The woman that she was fighting, I'm really getting these pronouns right here, fought really well, punched the trans woman many times, but never went down. And within 3 punches, the trans woman won the match.
This is the face of somebody who is not surprised.
Now, what I have to say about this is
you go into the minefield first, I'll follow you.
Is along the lines of what you say. Let's have more. More. Because, you can argue with these people going for, no, it's unethical. You can't do that because of different body. Okay, if you guys want to really fight about that, literally, let more of it happen and just see where it goes. And if minds change, then minds change. That's it.
I'm astounded it ever happens anywhere. I think I've said on this podcast before my story in Thailand, where I saw a man who was pretending to be a woman fight a 40-year-old Thai man pretending to be a woman fight a 24-year-old Australian girl, and I was very upset because I was watching a man punch the fuck out of a girl, and it was really hard to watch. She won in the end, but he was using his man strength to Thai clinch. He was a worse fighter. That's what so upset me. She was really good, but she was beating her with brute strength. He had a big fisherman's back, and you could just see this guy has been doing manual labor. He's fucking 40. He's been working with his hands his whole life. All he has to do is grab her neck and squeeze, and that's what they did for 5 rounds. Eventually, she beat him, but there's no place for this. This is insane, complete insanity. Why aren't we protecting women anymore? I thought that was the point of feminism, was we were supposed to protect women. Have the feminists fallen asleep at the wheel? Why are the feminists letting this happen? It's insane. A man should not punch a woman, even in the same weight class. We are built different. We're evolved to smash the fuck out of things. When enough women's jaws are snapped, when enough skulls are fractured and brain bags are burst, then they will stop. So you're right, it needs to be more. If you're a female MMA fighter, do not take a fight with a trans woman. It is not worth the potential injury. You have one brain, and when that's gone, it's gone. I've had a traumatic brain injury. I've split the brain, split the bag around my brain fighting. Don't risk it. Nobody should risk that.
I mean, this shit is dangerous as hell. Like, I'm really slowing down in my uh involvement in not MMA, which is martial arts. I'm really putting a boundary of how far I'm willing to go because it's not a joke to get hit in the head, man.
Well,
And
you
if a
you
person,
know what happens to me, don't you? Like the fluid was running out of my nose
yeah,
from my spine, and yeah, it was
yeah,
really bad.
and
It's
then
really
you were
dangerous.
naturally tripping on LSD from it for eternity after that. So I mean, that's a benefit.
This isn't my life anymore. I had terrible concussion afterwards. I switched lives with some accountant in Chester. I was interviewed by the BBC about this. It was really weird. My life got super weird after that. No, it's you're training to destroy another person's body, in essence. Whatever
Yes,
the martial arts style you're doing, you're training to inflict injury. And then you will get injured. My knee has been fucked for 14 years because I was training for an
right.
MMA fight. My brain is fucked.
Yes,
My skull is permanently weakened. It's not, it's a game, it's a competition. I love combat sports, but we have to protect the fighters
right.
against even themselves because they're all young and
Yes,
game and they love it.
yeah,
We have to say, no, you're not doing that. You're just not,
yeah.
it's not safe.
And
You must be protected.
I mean, the thing is, men versus men, it's just as dangerous, man. People have died in boxing rings because of a faulty referee, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my shoulder and my hip was sore for like 2 months for because I hit wrong, like even just at that limit.
Mm-hmm.
There, I mean, there's a reason why there's even weight classes
Yeah.
in martial arts in general. I mean, a heavyweight isn't going to go together with a featherweight because there's an unfair advantage and acknowledges the physical differences.
Well, there's obviously within MMA, what they'll say is, oh, they're in the right weight class, but it doesn't, it's not going to compensate. It really isn't, unless the woman just outclasses the man. And I've trained with MMA fighters. I trained with an MMA fighter in Auckland who could legitimately beat me, even though I was 10 kilos heavier than her. But she outclassed me. These are all pro fighters. They're all doing 6 or 7 hours training a day,
Right.
6 days a week. They're all at a very fucking high level. It's I'm amazed any board has passed it. And it's been going on for years. Like the first trans woman in MMA, it was quite a few years ago, I think.
Sure, sure. And at my positioning with this whole thing, it's my thing is let it happen if that's what they want, and then just see what happens.
Mm,
And perhaps this is more of a discussion for women and trans women to talk about. I mean, obviously, other people
yeah.
can have opinions about it, but my personal stance is like, okay, let's see what happens if that's the way you want to continue things.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think that this does anybody any favors. It's on a level of insanity as putting trans women, pre-op trans women who were rapists into prisons with other women and then being shocked and appalled when they rape women. I'm just like, why would you do this? What? Who's in charge? Who's in charge? I can't just turn up and say I'm a woman. Put me in jail with other women, please. It's lunacy, outranked lunacy.
It started off as a joke at the beginning by saying, I want more. But the more and more you think about it, that's the only way this madness will finally come to some conclusion. Just
Yeah.
put enough where it's so saturated that our ADD minds get so bored with everything in 2 seconds and then see what happens.
I'm more in favor of accelerationism than I am of fighting, because it's like dealing with kids. It's like okay, there's only one way you're going to learn. Fine, get hurt, and then
Right.
come to
Yes.
me when you're crying. Go get hurt.
In one of the Walking Dead games, I'm not going to spoil any specifics because they're great. But there a character pops up who is a really, really sheltered 9-year-old girl, maybe 10, 11, I don't know. But it's in the middle of a zombie apocalypse.
Mm.
Her dad, who's a badass in his own way, completely shelters the girl, doesn't even let her leave the fucking cabin in the room for potentially good reasons. But of course, what happens in a zombie apocalypse? Shit hits the fan. They need to get out. They run into bad people. There's zombies. At a certain point, she has people that is trying to help her. but she is completely unprepared for absolutely anything in this world, that she just goes immediately in a freeze response. And then
Mm.
guess what happens to her when people are literally reaching their hand out and like, grab, come here. They're right. All right. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
They got to figure it out on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a strange thing. I don't know what the opposite of protectionism is. You can either believe in protecting people from danger, or you can believe in making that person so fucking dangerous that the dark itself fears them. I'm in the second camp. If I have girls as children, they'll be ferocious ninjas. They'll fuck you up. They'll fuck you up if you attack them. They'll be front line.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the more and more the world keeps going the way that it is, and the hypothetical children that I'll never have that I have imagined in my head, I would raise them the same way, man. Taste danger, let yourself scratch your knees, spar with each other, wrestle,
Mm.
tumble around. So when are we going to raise our own children, Richard?
I don't know, babe. I think we would. Remember when it was a thing to say "I ship it"? It was such an
Yeah.
annoying trend, and people always said whenever we posted a picture of me and you, "I ship it." That's
Yeah.
what they will ship
Right.
us as adopting fathers.
Yes.
What a story that would be. Two hetero men. No, no, I just realized how fucked up that. No, oh my god. I was like, why has nobody done that? And then my brain went, well,
They
it's
would turn that around real quick.
that story wouldn't go the way you want it to go.
Mhm.
Oh dear. Oh, it's
Yeah.
tough being a man.
But I mean, for real, I mean, what benefit has coddling children really come to be in the end? Like, I'm really seeing no benefits to it at all these days, man.
No, but I understand the impulse. I mean, I have the impulse when I'm around my sister's kids. I want to protect them, and sometimes I look at the way my sister is with them because she's a savage. She lets them do all that. They're on just skateboards and fucking, running into walls and jumping off shit. And I'm like, oh my God. But I understand the impulse, but it does nothing. We should, if we want, it's not just how we raise children now, it's how we raise a nation, it's how we raise people. People are not weak. Stop treating them like they're weak. You're not weak. Stop acting like you're weak. You don't need to shelter in place and stay at home and all of this shite. You're a strong, healthy, vibrant entity. Get out there in the world and take some fucking risks, mate.
Exactly. And one interesting thing is, I think I heard that if you have the kids sparring with each other, whether, for example, boxing, they're allowed, or let's just say, a little more physically able to push a bit further because there's not enough weight to completely kill the other kid.
Mm,
Obviously, they should still have supervision and everything like that. But,
mm.
kids kind of just bounce back up. The bone density is different. Like they can just take a bit more in general.
Well, they don't
So
really deliver much power either. You see the kids, like the 6-year-olds doing Muay Thai, and they punch and kick, and there's not really like,
yes.
it's like, yeah,
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 there's no smack. It's just kind of a push almost. But, imagine you have kids that young and they start flirting with risk and danger in combat.
Mm,
At a certain age when they're actually capable of inflicting danger, they'll have so much experience that they'll have a better awareness of where physical boundaries are.
mm.
They're not going to be the ones, hopefully, like running on top of moving cars for fun at that point, because they have the experience of maybe jumping off the monkey bars when they're a bit younger. So they know that it hurts actually quite a bit,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah, definitely. And you want to, I don't know, I just prefer the idea of a nation, of a family, of a unit, of a tribe full of capable people who believe in themselves. This is broken. Well, then try and fix it, or at least try and fix it. Try and do it yourself first. If you really can't, we'll get some, just try. I'm saying that all the time in my personal life to my friends and family. They come to me with problems. I'm like, did you try to fix this before you came to me? Like, if I put a fucking gun to your head and said, fix this in 2 minutes or you'll be killed, would you have behaved differently? Yeah. Well, then do that then. Just pretend there's a gun to your head, or pretend there's $1 million in a bag if you sort it yourself. Try. Just fucking try. Fail. Then so what?
I've met people, many different people, and just throughout my life, and it's interesting to see how certain people deal with certain issues. And it boils it down to a few categories, and one of them is certain people that ask for help for everything. Like their natural instinct is to, text someone else that they know or whoever, whatever, whatever. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that just happened to be how they were raised, and people did help and they did respond. And then the other categories may be more where I fit, where you just kind of figure it out on your own. And it's really odd for me to see someone ask others for help. Maybe it's
Right.
from my own stubbornness and I've never experienced that. But I'm like, a lot of this stuff a person can actually figure out on their own, but I'm just not used to seeing it, you know?
You you could probably do a little more than you think if you tried to do it.
Yeah. But I mean, is it their fault? I mean, it's like,
No,
then
no,
there was nothing
no.
to kind of move them along that path.
This was my frustration in schools in the education system in the UK, as children were treated like children, and I'm like, what's your objective for the child? Are you trying to create a sovereign, worthwhile, assertive young adult? Start fucking treating them that way. Don't treat them like naughty, dysfunctional, mentally ill children, because they believe you. They're kids. That you're the fucking role model. You're the adult. Oh, you have Google blabble. Yeah, you'll never be able to. Like, what fucking? Why would you say that to someone? Why would you say those words to a young mind? Let them figure it out. You don't know. With neuroplasticity, with training, with time, you don't know what they're capable of. Don't hobble them with your weird bullshit. But I think the people who do that get some perverse pleasure out of it. They're like these fucking nurses and doctors who like telling people they're never going to walk again, or that they're going to die
Yeah.
of something that they don't know they're going to die from. They probably jerk off afterwards.
That is weird. That weird, like, sadistic drive to passively state that certain kids just can't do shit. That's really strange.
I had technically, I think technically, if you're a psychiatrist, you're a doctor. No, yeah, I think so. I think you passed medical school. I had a doctor do that in a meetup to one of somebody else at a meetup. I was furious with it. I told them not to drink, and this doctor was like, "Well, I'm going to have a glass of wine." I'm like, "That for me is a boundary break." I told everybody not, but she was like, "I'm a psychiatrist, so I don't have to do what everybody else is doing." And there was a woman there, maybe she's 27, and she had a problem with her mother, and it manifested in a relationship. So this psychiatrist looks her dead in the eye and says, "You're never going to recover from that as long as you live, and you need to start accepting that." And I was like, whoa, 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 sweet child of mine. First of all, my meetup, not your fucking meetup. Second of all, why would you say that to someone? Like, you don't know that. You have no idea what this person is capable of, or what they can grow and change and develop. But she got something from it. This fat, useless idiot, got something from condemning people to a lifetime of hell. That was her power. Fucking narcissist.
Yeah. And there's this strange arrogance that comes from cynicism.
Yeah.
They're like, for just because you're aware of negative info means you know more. You see that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If you're slightly doesn't you don't even have to be optimistic. You just don't have to be a straight doomer, you know? But the people that naturally lean to overt cynicism feel as if they're naturally right because it just comes with the negative territory.
I think that's what has infected that whole manosphere thing, is like
Yeah.
guys telling other guys your girl is going to cheat on you. Your girl is going to find another guy and she's going to cheat on you. What is it they say? She was never yours. It's just your turn.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
it.
dude, I'm all for realism and even cynicism, but this is just crazy talk. You don't know that. And but like you said, there's a kind of an arrogance with it. Like, if I can tell you the worst thing that's going to happen, I'm better than you.
Yes.
Just better.
It comes, you know what I imagine? Like these people that are role playing some rugged 1,000-yard stare
Oh my God.
veteran with no legs.
They
You
all
know?
think they're Clint Eastwood. They're like,
Yeah.
this
Life
was
is
never
hard.
yours. It was just your turn.
Yeah, like, it comes with any negative info, like, "You will never recover from that for the rest of your life." And then when people are just, like, literally spending most of their time complaining about women on the internet or the fucking psychiatrist at your meetup, like, that's who they imagine themselves to be.
You just need to accept that you're never going to recover from your childhood trauma.
And just 'cause,
Stares
like
into the distance while
yeah,
music plays and rain falls in slow motion and their cape flaps in the wind.
yeah, exactly, and that's why they're right, because the
Oh,
theatrics of the cynicism is there.
oh poof, that fucking woman. Well, people like that, they drive me crazy. I've seen it in hospitals as well. I've seen a nurse do that to somebody as well. It's nasty, but you're right. There is like a fantasy element. There's a role playing element to it, and yeah, they do. They fantasize like, I'm the hardened teller of truths. You need to hear this. I don't know why we're both doing Batman right now.
Because it's the exact archetype times 1,000,
Yeah.
you know?
You're never gonna recover. Suck it up and deal with it, bitch.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like yeah, it's like this, the moment that you reach an age where you move past naive optimism, all of a sudden you're wise and cynical.
Right. It should be listened to, have status.
Yeah,
Maybe we lost our elders, and this is where people are like filling in for the elders, but they're
right.
like kids or idiots. You got guys who barely go out, who barely do anything. I've met some of them face to face and I've seen their handles online and they're just dishing out advice. Women are like this and men should do this. And a woman will always, and a woman would never. I'm like, are you that same shy nerd that I saw with your flabby office tits? Like,
Right.
really? You've been with loads of, you're just so many women that I've been with. Really? Really? Can I see pictures? Can I see evidence? Because I don't believe you, office tits.
Office tits?
Yeah, the dudes, they just have
Yeah,
that nipple flab. I don't know how you get that. I think you just have to be
yeah,
very, very still for a very long time.
yeah, the internet makes it way too easy to do this because people still do it in real life, but it's a little harder to get away with, but people still lie in
It's
person, just not
no,
as
man.
much.
It's impossible. If you were with a group of dudes and you come in looking like that and you're like, everybody shut up. Let me tell all you other men who I don't know
Mm.
how it is with women. You just be like, shut up. Fucking shut your fucking face.
Right, you would get roasted
Ah,
to dinner, bruh. Like, you would be served up on a fucking
pouring the
plate.
honey sauce over him halfway through. Turn
Get
him
your
over.
fucking
He's ready.
stupid get your fucking stupid office tits out of here, bruh. Shit. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, there's obviously a balance to things, like, there are really cynical parts about life, but there are also moments to, like, it's not that fucking bad, and it's not true just because it's bad, bruh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. There isn't a correlation between negativity and truth. That's
Right.
that, that's
Yes,
that's
totally.
the that's the fallacy. There should be a logical fallacy that is created that is like the truth negativity fallacy. It's just not true. It's just not true. That's why I get so frustrated. They're creating all these rules for relationships and what happens with men and what happens with women. I'm like, okay, like what? It's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's not like an elf will always beat a fucking wizard. I'm like, what is this? Ugh. I have therapy tomorrow. He just messaged me now. I will work on this. Like my little bald patch started sweating.
Yeah.
Fucking
I felt
frustration.
like you had a little thing bubbling up since the beginning of the podcast.
There's a little
Was there a
nut there that
particular
just.
reason for that, Richie?
I didn't even know I was mad. I didn't fucking know I was mad. I think I've read some comments this week. I've seen some stuff that wasn't even directed at me. I'm just like peeping in on other people's conversations that have nothing to do with me. That fucking frustrates me, man. We've hit a vein here. There's a gold vein here around this cynical holier than thou, I know more than you, because it's negative, it must be right thing. And it's gibberish spouted by idiots. Idiots who, if you saw them, within 3 seconds, you'd be like, oh, I know why you say that online. I know. And you'd be like, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Fucking bullshit. We all do it. We all do it. And we do it because many times it's right. You know, if somebody's confident, you know, if you can look at a guy and know whether he knows what he's talking about in that arena. For God's sake,
Sure.
stop it. Stop this
Sure.
nonsense.
Yeah, I think it's the massive swing to the other way because everything was like love, peace, positivity, live, love, laugh, and then everybody all of a sudden in 2020 was like, life is really hard and people can't live next to each other, so we must segregate all the races again. And it's like everybody started role playing that on every aspect of the spectrum.
You're just going to have to accept segregation. Really? Like, what?
Huh?
Why? We brought the
Why?
dog and the fire hoses. We wanted to make it a full-blown historical event.
Yeah,
Can
there's like
we talk about this first?
I mean, to be fair, if you were just a shallow, superficial bitch, like who would you believe in more? Hey guys, like everything is just really awesome, or life is really hard out there. You should learn that at the age of 3. Like which one has a little more authority on a situation,
Yeah, you're right.
right?
You're right. It's like in the zombie movie, he would be like the old commando with like the scar.
Yes.
And he'd be like, this guy knows how to create a defensive formation and how to like strip weaponry. We probably should listen to him. He's a dick, but will survive the horrible event by listening to this hardened dickhead of a human being. Yeah, the worse it is, the more likely you are to listen to like black pill cynical stuff. But it's still ideology. It's still an
Totally.
agenda-fueled ideology.
Totally. And there are too many now. I'm
Yeah.
losing my goddamn place in the grocery aisle. What ideology to ingest for breakfast?
It all makes you sick in the end, right?
Completely, dude. Like,
Sickening.
you know what the thing is though, man? I'm not bored these days. A little more. But it's a little more. What's the word, Richie? You have an expansive vocabulary.
It's ennui, darling. It's ennui, a sort of a
On
numbness, a sense that everything that could be done has been done, and there's just nothing left in the cookie jar.
It's ennui. Yeah.
Ennui.
Because if you are not participating in this ideology grocery store breakfast aisle thing, and you don't want to involve yourself in politics or drama, you're kind of just left out in a peaceful way.
Mm.
But I guess that's the only word that I can think of is ennui. I'm not really bored, and I'm not like at some sort of zen, like everything's wonderful. It's just kind of, well, at least I'm not there, you know?
Maybe this is like a phase of spiritual or emotional growth, but nobody talks about it. The ennui phase. You just
Yeah.
get sick of stuff. There's so much content now. There's too much ideology. There's too much content, and it's overfacing. It's sickening. I wish that I could live 2020 again and see what the me that is here now would make of all that. With just like the whole, because I look back on
Yes.
2020, which is only yesterday, really, and I'm like, wow, what a series of naive reactions you went through there, sir.
I look back and I'm like, wow, what a toddler.
Well, you can watch the tentacle questions. Like people who want to see it, they can watch the
Yeah.
tentacle questions from 2020. It's different. It's different. It's wide-eyed. It's much more naive.
Yeah, and we're not necessarily ending up that cynical no-legged veteran after all that, you know?
Which would be so there's conclusions, right? Like the temptation is to go, I'll conclude by entering this archetype, or I'll conclude by entering this archetype. If tentacle question is about anything, it's about remaining conclusionless.
Ooh. There's like growth without conclusions. Constant progression without conclusions.
Let your tentacles dangle, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah, looking back, it's a completely different person. I look at that person as like a really infantile person, but I don't resent it. I don't regret it. I'm not judging myself harshly, and right now, I don't feel cynical necessarily or, harshly judgmental either. It's just kind of this like this. It's not that word, man. Ennui, I guess. Like this,
Aren't we?
just yeah. I can't
Maybe
think of a
maybe
word.
what we're going through right now is the bitter pill that we have to swallow. Like the whole of this is we must swallow it. We have to transcend this, and we have to drink this bitter brew because we're sick. We're really sick. We got
Hmm.
to take the potion. We got to take the medicine. It's the only way, and I think we are taking it because I don't know about what it's like out there in Cyberland, but when I'm talking to people now, like shit's a lot saner now in many ways. Back in the
Yeah.
UK, and there's signs everywhere saying, do this, do that, wear a mask, this, that. People just don't do it.
Yeah.
Even the
Yeah, same.
staff, even the staff in the establishment saying it. It's not doing it. It's not doing it.
Yes.
But we did predict this. If you keep pushing that button, the revolution, it'll be like the Czech revolution, the Velvet Revolution. It won't be, dragging the leaders into the streets and lynching them from lampposts. It will be, we're just not gonna do it anymore. We're
Right.
just not. Everybody's gonna turn into Louis C.K. and beat off over each other. Everybody's gonna turn into Louis C.K. and be like, I'm just not doing the thing. No,
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
I don't want to. And that'll be it. There won't be an ideology. It won't be like, I don't want to do this because speaking as a vegan surfer, I'm not. No, it'll just be like, I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm seeing it more and more here as well, even though they're possibly thinking about lockdowns again. But overall, people are really indifferent about the whole situation. They don't necessarily feel passionate on one way or another. They're just kind of like,
Even the most Nazi amongst us must be getting bored now. Even the fucking, those delusional coward bully fascists who think
yeah,
they're doing something and
yeah,
doing something. They must be like tired. Your
yeah.
whip arm will eventually get bored. Your back will be
Yeah.
like,
I
whipping
mean,
people is
think
hard.
about how exhausting that is. Just constantly ordering people around that don't even listen to you. Dude, I mean, that's
This
so
is so
exhausting,
sick.
like, they don't even fucking listen to you. Imagine keep doing that, like dude, I have not really left the house, and I don't really feel bad, and I'm kinda worried.
This, it's a hard film to watch. It's called The Captain. It's black and white. It's a German movie, and it's a true story of a Nazi soldier who deserted his team, and he was due to be shot, but he convinces everybody that he's a captain, and he's recruited by other bad Nazis to shoot deserting German soldiers. And the scenes of the movie are of this ennui of death because he has so many deserting soldiers to kill that he just is like, oh God, like how do we? I
Yeah,
won't ruin it for people if they have the. It's
yeah.
not gory, but some of the stuff like they run out of ways to kill people en masse, so they start mortaring them. They stick them in
Wow.
trenches and mortar them. It's insane. True story. It's a true story. And the suggestion is it's so Zizekian and Kafkaesque. The officers who recruited him knew perfectly well that he was a deserter, but that he was in a double bind where he had to pretend to be this ultra passionate SS guy who hated deserters. They're like, oh, you hate deserters? Yes, I do. We have 2,000 of them here. Maybe you could kill them. And he was like, well, of course, as a good Nazi, I would do this. I'm laughing. It's not funny. He ends up so it's the ennui, the sheer decadence of eventually you bored. It's everything is boring in the end. Everything is boring in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, that kinda just is how it's gonna go. Just the dust settles because we don't wanna keep cleaning.
There's only so many times I can be speckled with the blood of my comrades. It's dull now. All my
Yeah.
clothes are ruined.
Dude, so is this a signal of depression if I don't wanna leave the house, but I'm feeling okay? Like, I don't really feel like I'm missing out, or I'm not sad. I'm not jaded or resentful. I'm just kind of like, "Yeah."
I don't know necessarily if that would signal depression, because everything is relative to the environment you're in. So is it
Yeah.
adaptive or maladaptive? And I couldn't say sat here that it's a maladaptive response, because what's out there, I don't know. Like, if
Yeah.
you feel good and you feel okay, that might be as good as it gets. You know, that might just be like, okay, that's it.
Yeah, the biggest change that I'm witnessing is that I don't feel like I'm missing out at all with clubbing, bar hopping, traveling. Just okay, just chilling.
Mm.
And it's a really strange feeling, but I kind of like it. I don't know what that is, and if anyone else feels like that, I don't know how you feel about things these days. That's how I can fucking word it.
I think I did go through a little bit of a phase. There was like a sort of, after that sort of breakdown where I came out of it, there was a euphoria from coming out of it, and I definitely wanted like the Bacchanalian festivals, and then I just was like, I don't want to do that. I really, please, I just want to be normal and sane. I just want to.
I went through the same thing right after Santorini. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna like go out and buy some new clothes and be chilling, and then like a month or two later, I don't really want to do this.
I don't want to do this. There's something so wonderful about just feeling normal. When you felt like insane and you felt the pain and the suffering of extreme loneliness or anxiety and depression, the privilege of feeling normal, it's so wonderful. You really just want it to keep
Yes,
going.
yeah, I'm feeling a bit normal.
Yeah,
It's a little strange, and I'm
right.
not really sure how to welcome it, man.
Enjoy it. Just everybody, just please hold on
Enjoy
to normal.
it.
Enjoy. Like, it's wonderful. You just feel okay. You just feel okay. I don't
Yeah,
even need joy. I don't even need great success. I just want to feel okay.
but is this what normalcy really is? Like, I don't
I
remember, bro.
I think I think we get to define it. Like, we like, because our elders are nutters. They're fucking nutcases. They're Fruit Loops. So we can't turn to them. They act like baby boomers act like normal is not good enough. Like, it's not all baby boomers, but like the savage baby boomer, like normal's not enough. I have to
Yeah,
party. I have to do this. I have to win. I have to conquer. So we can't look to them. But like, I would say, like, it's kind of a Buddhist perspective. It's a Buddhist position. It's like, this is enough. This is enough. I'm sat in a
yeah,
room. I'm talking to you. I'm no pain. We can have a nice conversation about something. So, dude, that's it. That's
right.
it. That's
Yes.
it. I'm not plagued by lust or like, I must have a gold-plated yacht, or I
Yeah.
don't fuck. I just want to
I
feel
mean,
normal.
the irony of all this is like from my subjective life, from like 18 and then on, I wanted to escape like the video game nerdy lifestyle that I had. I wanted to flip. I'm gonna like be a musician. I'm gonna do these things, and then like for like 8 years, 9 years of my life, start the YouTube channel, be perceived like this, develop this, work on this, become successful. This, all of those years, only to do exactly what I did at 15 years old again. Play video games and just chill. And it feels so good. I don't know why I escaped that before.
But if you were sat there tortured by what could have been, then you would suffer. Then you would be in that
You're
Buddhist
right.
state of dukkha. You'd be like, what about the goals? What if I was a rock star? What if I had loads of sexual options, which I don't now? You can only turn away from, you can only forego something that you've had. You can't forego a thing you've never had.
That's crazy, man. So it's like the experience of life is to just do it just because you should in order to go back to what you know you enjoy without living the FOMO of what could have been.
I think so. I think, like, that's it. That was Dostoevsky's character of Zosima, the
Okay.
old monk who everybody thinks is this old, you know, just wise fasting sage, and then he tells you the story of his youth. He was drinking, chasing women, fighting in duels. He did that. It's done. But if it's not done, there'll be a little voice in your head going, maybe you would have liked that more than sitting here meditating. When you're done and you're sick of it, you're like, oh, meditation feels great. Nobody's trying to shoot me or stab me. I haven't got drama with goals. This is fucking great. I love this.
So it is necessary to do it, you believe? And I think so too.
I think so. I think so. You got to live. There's no transcendence in not doing a thing. So should you, and it depends on your biology. Like, don't take risks you don't want to take. I always wanted to live in Ibiza. I always wanted to know what that was like. I know now. I always wanted to party in Ibiza and meet people at different levels and hang around with whatever, like millionaires or whatever. Did it, got it, ticked it, cool. Never going to go back again.
And now look at us, just sitting on a podcast on YouTube.
It's fucking great.
I
have nobody's trying to kill me. Nobody's after me for money. I didn't sleep with somebody's wife. I don't have drama. It's fucking great. It's the simple. When I finish this, I'm gonna eat some cottage cheese, play Age of Empires, and listen to a Jordan Peterson podcast. Which, when I started out in 2013, that's where I started. It was Grand Theft Auto, Jordan Peterson, and Slavoj Žižek.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
That's how I learned about Slavoj Žižek. I've only read one of his books.
No,
but that's what I would do. Maybe not 2013. I think like Peterson started on like 14, 15. That's what I would do.
Yeah. And I don't feel guilty for these types of things anymore. Like I even bought, you're going to laugh at me. I bought a fingerboard again.
What the fuck, dude?
Not only a fingerboard, I bought a ramp that goes with the fingerboard.
Fingerboards were a thing when I was 12. What are you? You're not even from the 80s. What are you talking about, fingerboards?
Bruh, they upgraded, man. They have fingerboards that have real bearings in the wheels in trucks, and I can kickflip and grind on these bitches like crazy. So I literally do this these days. I fingerboard.
The fuck out of here.
I'm in front of my giant TV with my laptop in front of the table. I do kickflip nose grind on this ramp on a fingerboard. I open up Roblox and I play zombies on Roblox. That's my life now, Richie. Exactly what I did at 13 years old.
With no FOMO.
With no FOMO.
Think about that's how powerful FOMO is. It tortures you, man. It tortures you.
And I was so happy at 13 fingerboarding and playing video games, and that never went away.
You can't forego a thing unless you've done it. Transcendence means you go through, not around. Transcendence means you go through, not avoid. You got to do it. You got to go through it.
Dude, this life thing is so silly, man.
It's a ridiculous simulation.
It's so silly, dude.
This is silly. I really, really, like, if anybody's listening, I want you to change the game I'm in, because this is just, I think I did this. Or change the level or something. Like, I'm stuck. I feel this is like reality seems to be stuck at the moment. Yeah. We're living May 2020 for months and months and months and months now.
Yeah. And it's like, why you make me go through these things for years? I was okay there. Why you make me do this? Yeah. I'm pretty happy with all the things I did, but like, do we have to do all of that?
Yeah. Is it necessary?
Yeah.
I got it. There was a lesson to be learned. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. You still got it. Move on. Like, whoever's running this game has got like some weird, they're like Asperger's-y and they're really repetitive and really like, there's just a Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg is the literal god of this game. But did you get the point? Yes, I got the point. But did you get the point? Yes, I got the fucking point.
Dude, and you know, that actual thing is why most video games kind of drive me crazy. They're literally, the system is set up so you grind the whole time. Like that repetitive, like loot the box, shoot the thing, pick up the coin, shoot the zombie, loot the thing, pick up the coin. And I'm like, this is like continuously never ending? Why is it the same thing every time?
That's why Call of Duty Zombies is only good for the first 12 rounds. That's when you pick up the special gun, you pick
Yeah.
up the grenades, you level up, you get your perks, da, da, da. And as you're building the character, that's the fun part. Then when you have all these guns and weapons and shit, it's literally you just run around and shoot more zombies and more
Yeah.
zombies and more. It's dull as fuck.
You think about it, like the closest thing to being God as humans, one of the options is developing a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And we would literally develop the same system as the lives we go through now, the same repetitive grinding reward system.
Pretty much. Oh, or the other thing is to write a book. But if you look at like even books like Lord of the Rings, it was all like a metaphor for war and life in Britain in the dude's time. And yeah, it's the same. It was like, I'm going to build a world that is looks like my world, but there's a bit of magic in there.
And what is up with so many medieval things in general? Like it's just saturated the video game section. Like it's only Skyrim
We
elves and
we
wizards.
we're sick of branding and we're sick of modern technology. We really Game of Thrones was so popular because of that. We really want to go back to a time no phones, no tech, no brands, nothing. It was probably in a way it was kind of that was what we were evolved to. That was the peak of human civilization. And then what came after that kind of ended up folding back on itself and was a bit perverse. So medieval times and big gold coins and
Oh, that makes
swords and
sense.
boats and stuff. That was human peak. But we went past that. We were like, well, we've done that. We're going to do more stuff. No, no, no. Just stop. Stop. A bit of dentistry,
Mm.
slightly better medicine. Finish there. If you go further in the game, you won't like it. But humans are humans. We're like, no, we'll keep going.
That makes sense why I was never able to relate with it. I love the technology thing. So when I went to watch like the Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Skyrim stuff, it was all right. But
Yeah.
I was like, what is this world with no Wi-Fi? What the hell is this? I don't get it.
Yeah, is it? It's definitely. I think it's back to the Nietzsche thing. I think that's a biological thing. Like as you would choose your philosophy based on your biology, so your aesthetics is probably
Yeah.
genetically
Yeah.
rooted.
And also, like, I guess the closest thing to that, back to a time without it, is post-apocalyptic, like zombie type stuff, because it's a bit more modernized.
The artwork that Chauncey did for this channel, I look like I'm from a medieval time, and you look like you're from a dystopian future in the artwork. You
Exactly.
got it. That's why it looks
Exactly.
good.
I was like, "Hey, Chauncey, I feel like Richie could be more like a knight or something.
Yeah,
Can you do that with like a giant scar on his face? It would look good."
yeah. I could be like one of Thor's mates or something like that. One of those sub characters.
'Twas a conversation indeed.
Was words have come out my mouth. Now it's time for food to go in.
No questions today for you. You're just gonna get the foods.
I don't know. Should we take a couple of questions? You guys got a question?
You
Got
sound
a
like you're dying,
question?
bro.
You got a question? Ask your fucking question. I had no insomnia for a couple of months, and in the last 2 nights, I've had really, really savage insomnia. Don't know why.
Somebody brought up a interesting observation. Shout out to Brian. So true. So true.
I've got it right over my head.
Right
This
over
is
your
my
head.
crown chakra.
It's your crown. Got a portal behind me. Will there be a time when humans stop acting in their own self-interest contrary to the betterment of the collective?
Contrary to the betterment of the collective. I don't. Oh. And there are, I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna go. Don't know where we're gonna evolve to. I don't know. We have a choice to sort of constantly evolve in certain directions, though, for sure.
What if our perceived self-interest was actually somehow beneficial to the collective?
I think that you raise an interesting point. This could be a false dichotomy. This could be what Gad Saad calls epistemological dichotomania. that which seems to be polarized and dichotomous is actually part of the same thing. So our individual interests might serve the collective. They will never stop asking you for an eyeshadow tutorial, and you just need to accept it.
Pierre, just do your damn makeup tutorial at your fate. Do it. Just accept it.
I want to study psychiatric nature. What do we book in the thoughts of Grannon?
Oh, fuck. I started with, I was in an Airbnb in Thessaloniki, and I was on the shelf. What the fuck was it? It might have been the gay science. It went deep into slave morality, which is either gay science or morality or good and evil. But the point I was going to make is there was a book with it that decoded the book. So I was reading the book, and then I had those like student notes that tell you what it means. So I would get a decoder with it. Gay science plus like student notes for the gay science is probably a good start.
One of my favorite Nietzsche, I think it was a short essay. It was called Pee Pee Poo Poo.
Pee Pee Poo Poo is good. It's often misinterpreted because
misquoted.
Pee Pee times are not always poo poo times, but poo poo times are always pee pee times. Well, as to my last point, these postmodernist types don't understand that pee-pee times are not always poo-poo times, but poo-poo times are always pee-pee times.
Did you read this, Richie?
Will I let you take a nap with me? No, absolutely not. I despise human contact when I'm trying to sleep. Absolutely not.
Do you steal the blanket or the others steal the blanket?
Oh, God. Well, if I am sleeping and there's another human there, it would typically be of the female variety. And so there's no question of stealing. It's presumed that they own it. And I'm given a napkin-sized piece of blanket. What women do is they get in the bed and then they go all the way over to my side of the bed because I'm cold. And then you look over their shoulder and there's just this vast expanse of real estate that nobody's using. But I'm on a prison-sized piece of cot and she's there making my left arm sweat. And then I'm given a napkin of blanket. There you go. And then I'm like, where's the rest of the fucking blanket? It's bunched up over there. Nobody's using it. It's abuse. They're abusive. I'm Patrice O'Neill. Women are abusive. They're abusive.
Yeah, that's what happens.
You just have to accept it. A woman is always going to steal
your blankets.
It's the way women are. It's in their nature.
I am the blanket.
Could you sing me a lullaby?
I'm just going to keep picking these, Richard.
Jesus Christ. The other night, I was going to talk about this, but we'll talk about it another time. I did like a deep breathing exercise 2 nights ago, and I started having really strange visions. And I was like, I will be the fascist, a benevolent dictator, and I was going to have a fascist state, and it was going to be 1984 style, but nice. And then I was like in this weird vision space. I was like, you can't actually do that anymore because there's no countries because of globalization. You can't really do that anymore. I've been joking about wanting to be a benevolent dictator for a while, but it's probably impossible at this point because of globalization.
Damn.
Jemima says, on behalf of all women, sorry we are so abusive for stealing a blanket. The fact that you would admit it is a big step on the pathway to healing this division between men and women.
You know what I did? Got 2 blankets.
That's so Czech of you. That's the most fucking Czech thing I ever heard in my life. You are now becoming Czech. There is a solution: 2 blankets. There's no more war.
So you like the war,
right? What? So you must like conflict. why did you not just buy 2 blankets? Can you not afford 2 blankets? Here you go. No more
I got
conflict.
2 blankets and I'm happy. But then the argument becomes, how come you didn't cuddle me last night?
I have heard that one so many times because I don't want to sleep in a bath of my own sweat. I don't want to crush you. Your hair gets in my breathing cavities.
I imagine the image of you just dripping, your shirt stained. It's like you in Vietnam. It's just like
Are you comfortable, my love? Mm, mm, mm. Oh, hold me. Yes, my darling. I'm dehydrated.
Just-
I need kidney dialysis tomorrow.
just 1 more hour. That's all there is.
My arm is completely dead. Fuck it. As long as she sleeps well, cut it off. Cut it off. As long as. Can't you feel I'm sweating? You don't care. I'm suffering. But that's a Patrice moment. Ain't that better? Ain't that better? No, it's hot and uncomfortable.
Just so happy. You're so happy.
I'm just You are too comfortable with how uncomfortable I am. You're abusive.
Oh.
I'm just so happy that you cannot sleep. And then in the morning, they're like, oh, you're kind of grumpy. Am I? Am I? Am I? Dead on, dehydrated, totally uncomfortable, mass of your hair in my nose and in my mouth.
What's wrong?
What's wrong? Oh, you seem like, oh, really? You're a little bit grumpy. Am I? Did you sleep okay? Well, that's all that fucking matters, isn't it? Great.
Ow. Ow. I'm not going to the gym, dude.
It's done.
I think
Abs is done.
Good luck at therapy tomorrow, Richie.
Ah, yes. Tomorrow morning therapy. I nearly forgot. It's been a week. I think I'm ready.
Oh, that was so funny. Oh, shit. All right. I think I'm going to go on Roblox after this.
I think I'm just going to listen to Patrice O'Neill for about 2 hours after this. I miss him so much.
Bro, it's so funny. Okay. That was hilarious. Oh, that's a bit. Clip that out only.
That's a bit.
Jesus Christ, that's so funny. Holy shit.
That's the spirit. I just embodied the spiritual energy with which you fucking women do this.
Just so comfy. Just comfy. Just so comfy.
I didn't sleep much last night, didn't you? Slept like a fucking lamb.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you all so much for your time and for your attention. Namyo Horenge Kyo. We will look forward to speaking. Are you doing a live now or anything?
No, I'm not going to do a live. I'm just going to play Roblox. So if anybody just wants to play off stream, just join my Roblox.
Join Pierre's Roblox now for more fun and games. We'll see you next week.
Bye.